This is a reading from a book that I picked up only because the author is mentioned in the song Anchorless by Weakerthans, the Weakerthans. And like the song, and the name of this book is Psmith Journalist by P.G. Wodehouse. And Smith is spelled with a P to distinguish it from other Smiths. This is P.G. Wodehouse's Psmith Journalist. Chapter 1 Cozy Moments. The man in the street would not have known it, but a great crisis was imminent in New York journalism. Everything seemed much as usual in the city. The cars ran blithely on Broadway. Newsboys shouted "Wookstry" into the ears of nervous pedestrians with their casual Caruso-like vim. Society passed up and down Fifth Avenue in its automobiles. And was there a furrow of anxiety upon society's brow? None. At 1,000 street corners, 1,000 policemen preserved their air of massive superiority to the things of this world. Not one of them showed the least sign of perturbation. Nevertheless, the crisis was at hand. Mr. J. Filkin Wilberfloss, editor-in-chief of Cozy Moments, was about to leave his post and start on a 10 weeks holiday. In New York, one may find every class of paper which the imagination can conceive. Every grade of society is catered for. If an Eskimo came to New York, the first thing he would find on the bookstalls, in all probability, would be the Blubber magazine, or some similar production written by Eskimo for Eskimo. Everybody reads in New York, and reads all the time. The New Yorker peruses his favorite paper while he is being jammed into a crowded compartment on the subway or leaping like an antelope into a moving streetcar. There was thus a public for Cozy Moments. Cozy Moments, as its name, an inspiration of Mr. Wilberfloss's own, is designed to imply, is a journal for the home. It is a sort of paper which the father of the family is expected to take home with him from his office and read aloud to the chicks before bedtime. It was founded by its proprietor, Mr. Benjamin White, as an antidote to yellow journalism. One is forced to admit that up to the present, yellow journalism seems to be competing against it with a certain measure of success. Headlines are still of as generous a size as heretofore, and there is no tendency on the part of editors to scamp the details of the last murder case. Nevertheless, Cozy Moment thrives. It has its public. Its contents are mildly interesting, if you like that sort of thing. There is a Moments in the Nursery page, conducted by Luella Granville Waterman, to which parents are invited to contribute the bright speeches of their offspring, and which bristles with little stories about the nursery canary by Jane, age 6, and other works of rising young authors. There is a Moments of Meditation page, conducted by the Reverend Edwin T. Philpotts, a Moments Among the Masters page, consisting of assorted chunks looted from the literature of the past, when foreheads were bulgy and thoughts profound, by Mr. Wilberfloss himself, 1 or 2 pages, a short story, answers to correspondence on domestic matters, and a Moments of Mirth page, conducted by an alleged humorist of the name of B. Henderson Asher, which is about the most painful production ever served up to a confiding public. The guiding spirit of Cozy Moments was Mr. Wilberfloss. Circumstances had left the development of the paper mainly to him. For the past 12 months, the proprietor had been away in Europe, taking the waters at Carlsbad, and the sole control of Cozy Moments had passed into the hands of Mr. Wilberfloss. Nor had he proved unworthy of the trust or unequal to the duties. In that year, Cozy Moments had reached the highest possible level of domesticity. Anything not calculated to appeal to the home had been rigidly excluded, and as a result, the circulation had increased steadily. 2 extra pages had been added. Moments Among the Shoppers, and Moments with Society. And the advertisements had grown in volume. But the work had told upon the editor. Work of that sort carries its penalties with it. Success means absorption, and absorption spells softening of the brain. Whether it was a strain of digging into the literature of the past every week, or the effort of reading B. Henderson Asher's Moments of Mirth is uncertain. At any rate, his duties, combined with the heat of a New York summer, had sapped Mr. Wilberfloss's health to such an extent that the doctor had ordered him 10 weeks' complete rest in the mountains. This Mr. Wilberfloss could, perhaps, have endured, if this had been all. There are worse places than the mountains of America in which to spend 10 weeks of the tail end of summer, when the sun had ceased to grill and the mosquitoes have relaxed their exertions. But it was not all. The doctor, a far-seeing man who went down to first causes, had absolutely declined to consent to Mr. Wilberfloss's suggestion that he should keep in touch with the paper during his vacation. He was adamant. He had seen copies of Cozy Moments once or twice, and he refused to permit a man in the editor's state of health to come in contact with Luella Granville Waterman's Moments in a Nursery and B. Henderson Asher's Moments of Mirth. The medicine man put his foot down firmly. You must not see as much as the cover of the paper for 10 weeks, he said, and I am not so sure that it shouldn't be longer. You must forget that such a paper exists. You must dismiss the whole thing from your mind, live in the open, and develop a little flesh and muscle. To Mr. Wilberfloss, the sentence was almost equivalent to penal servitude. It was with tears in his voice that he was giving his final instructions to his sub-editor, in whose charge the paper would be left during his absence. He had taken a long time doing this. For 2 days, he had been fussing in and out of the office, to the discontent of its inmates, more especially Billy Windsor, the sub-editor, who was now listening moodily to the last harangue of the series, with the air of one whose heart is not in the subject. Billy Windsor was a tall, wiry, loose-jointed young man, with unkempt hair and the general demeanor of a caged eagle. Looking at him, one could picture him astride of a bronco, rounding up cattle, or cooking his dinner at a campfire. Somehow, he did not seem to fit into the Cozy Moments atmosphere. Well, I think that is all, Mr. Windsor, chirruped the editor. He was a little man with a long neck and large pince-nez, and he always chirruped. You understand the general lines on which I think the paper should be conducted. The sub-editor nodded. Mr. Wilberfloss made him tired. Sometimes he made him more tired than at other times. At the present moment, he filled him with an aching weariness. The editor meant well and was full of zeal, but he had a habit of covering and recovering the ground. He possessed the art of saying the same obvious thing in a manner of different ways to a degree which is found usually only in politicians. If Mr. Wilberfloss had been a politician, he would have been one of those dealers in glittering generalities who used to be fashionable in American politics. There's just one thing, he continued. Mrs. Julia Burdett Parslow is a little inclined. I may have mentioned this before. You did, said the sub-editor. Mr. Wilberfloss chirruped on, unchecked. A little inclined to be late with her moments with budding girlhood. If this should happen while I am away, just write her a letter, quite a pleasant letter, you understand, pointing out the necessity of being in good time. The machinery of a weekly paper, of course, cannot run smoothly unless contributors are in good time with their copy. She is a very sensible woman, and she will understand, I am sure, if you point it out to her. The sub-editor nodded. And there's just one other thing. I wish you would correct a slight tendency I have noticed lately in Mr. Asher to be just a trifle. Well, not precisely risky, but perhaps a shade broad in his humor. His what? Said Billy Windsor. Mr. Asher is a very sensible man, and he will be the first to acknowledge that his sense of humor has led him just a little beyond the bounds. You understand? Well, that is all, I think. Now I must really be going, or I shall miss my train. Goodbye, Mr. Windsor. Goodbye, said the sub-editor thankfully. At the door, Mr. Wilberfloss paused with the air of an exile, bidding farewell to his native land, sighed, and trotted out. Billy Windsor put his feet upon the table, and with a deep scowl, resumed his task of reading the proofs of Luella Granville Waterman's Moments in the Nursery. Chapter 2. Billy Windsor. Billy Windsor had started life 25 years before this story opens on his father's ranch in Wyoming. From there, he had gone to a local paper of the type whose society column consists of such items as Pawnee Jim Williams was to town yesterday with a bunch of other cheapskates. We take this opportunity of once more informing Jim that he is a liar and a skunk, and whose editor works with a revolver on his desk and another in his hip pocket. Graduating from this, he had proceeded to a reporter's post on a daily paper in a Kentucky town, where there were blood feuds and other Southern devices for preventing life from becoming dull. All this time, New York, the magnet, had been tugging at him. All reporters dream of reaching New York. At last, after 4 years on the Kentucky paper, he had come east, minus the lobe of one ear and plus a long scar that ran diagonally across his left shoulder, and had worked without much success as a freelance. He was tough and ready for anything that might come his way, but these things are a great deal a matter of luck. The cub reporter cannot make a name for himself unless he is favored by fortune. Things had not come Billy Windsor's way. His work had been confined to turning in reports of fires and small street accidents, which the various papers to which he supplied them cut down to a couple of inches. Billy had been in a bad way when he had happened upon the sub-editorship of Cosy Moments. He despised the work with all his heart, and the salary was infinitesimal, but it was regular. And for a while, Billy felt that a regular salary was the greatest thing on earth. But he still dreamed of winning through to a post on one of the big New York dailies, where there was something doing and a man would have a chance of showing what was in him. The unfortunate thing, however, was that Cosy Moments took up his time so completely. He had no chance of attracting the notice of big editors by his present work, and he had no leisure for doing any other, all of which may go to explain why his normal aspect was that of a caged eagle. To him, brooding over the outpourings of Luella Granville Waterman, there entered Pugsy Maloney, the office boy, bearing a struggling cat. "Say," said Pugsy. He was a nonchalant youth, with a freckled mask-like face, the expression of which never varied. He appeared unconscious of the cat. Its existence did not seem to occur to him. "Well," said Billy, looking up. "Hello, what have you got there?" Master Maloney eyed the cat, as if he were seeing it for the first time. "It's a kitty what I got in the street," he said. "Don't hurt the poor brute. Put her down." Master Maloney obediently dropped the cat, which sprang nimbly on to an upper shelf of the bookcase. "I wasn't hoiting her," he said without emotion. "There was two fellas in the street sicking a dog onto her, and I come up and say, 'Gwan, what do you think you're doing, fussing the poor dumb animal?' And one of the guys, he says, 'Gwan, who do you think yous is?' And I says, 'I'm the guy what's going to swat yous one of the cocoa if yous don't quit fussing the poor dumb animal.' So with that, he makes a break at swatting me one, but I swat him one, and I swats the older fella too, and then I swat them both seemed more, and I gets the kitty, and I bring her in here, 'cause I thinks I maybe yourself look after her. And having finished this Homeric narrative, Master Maloney fixed an expressionless eye on the ceiling and was silent. Billy Windsor, like most men of the plains, combined the toughest of muscle with the softest of hearts. He was always ready at any moment to become the champion of the oppressed on the slightest provocation. His alliance with Pugsy Maloney had begun on the occasion when he had rescued that young youth from the clutches of a large man who probably, from the soundest of motives, was endeavoring to slay him. Billy had not inquired into the rights and wrongs of the matter. He had merely sailed in and rescued the office boy. And Pugsy, though he had made no verbal comment on the affair, had shown in many ways that he was not ungrateful. "Bully for you, Pugsy," he cried. "You're a little sport. Here." He produced a dollar bill. "Go out and get some milk for the poor brute. She's probably starving. Keep the change." "Sure thing," assented Master Maloney. He strolled slowly out, while Billy Windsor, mounting a chair, proceeded to chirrup and snap his fingers in the effort to establish the foundations of an entente cordiale with the rescued cat. By the time that Pugsy had returned, carrying a 5-cent bottle of milk, the animal had vacated the bookshelf and was sitting on the table, washing her face. The milk, having been poured into the lid of a tobacco tin in lieu of a saucer, she suspended her operations and adjourned for refreshments. Billy, business being business, turned again to Luella Granville Waterman, but Pugsy, having no immediate duties on hand, concentrated himself on the cat. "Say," he said. "Well, dat kitty. What about her? Pipe de leather collar she's wearing." Billy had noticed earlier in the proceedings that a narrow leather collar encircled the cat's neck. He had not paid any particular attention to it. "What about it?" he said. "Guess I know where that kitty belongs. Dey's all have those collars. I guess she's one of Bat Jarvis's kitties. He's got a lot of dem for fair, and every one would one of dem collars round her neck." "Who's Bat Jarvis? Do you mean the gang leader?" "Sure. He's a cousin of mine," said Master Maloney with pride. "Is he?" said Billy. "Nice sort of fellow to have in the family. So you think that's his cat?" "Sure. He's got 23 of them, and they all has those collars. Are you on speaking terms with the gentleman?" "Huh?" "Do you know Bat Jarvis to speak to?" "Sure, he's my cousin." "Well, tell him I've got the cat, and that if he wants it, he'd better come round to my place. You know where I live?" "Sure." "Fancy you being a cousin of Bat's, Pugsy. Why did you never tell us? Are you going to join the gang some day?" "Nope, nothing doing. I'm going to be a cowboy." "Good for you. Well, you tell him when you see him. And now, my lad, out you get, because if I'm interrupted any more, I shan't get through tonight." "Sure," said Master Maloney, retiring. "Oh, and Pugsy?" "Huh?" "Go out and get a good big basket. I shall want one to carry this animal home in." "Sure," said Master Maloney.